A pleasant day to each and everyone. In this video, we will discuss the Chapter 2 of CPE 106 Assessment Learning 2, which talks about the types of assessment. But before anything else, allow me to introduce you myself. By the way, I am Isa S. Panglima. And we all know assessment is an essential and a powerful tool in teaching and learning process. It is a process of obtaining data which we could measure students' competence and learning outcomes. The process begins with the identification of the specific target goals before collecting and interpreting the information. Classifying and synthesizing of the gathered data are possible through the use of the different assessment techniques. This chapter deals mainly on the discussion of the different types of assessment being used in the teaching and learning process. And there are 5 different types of assessment. The first one is the traditional and authentic assessment, formative and summative evaluation, norm and criterion reference assessment, contextualized and decontextualized assessment, and the analytic and holistic assessment. When we say traditional assessments are indirect and inauthentic measures of student learning outcomes. This kind of assessment is standardized, and for that reason, they are one-shot, speed-based, and norm reference according to Bailey 1998. Traditional assessment often focus on learners' ability of memorization and recall, which are lower level of cognition according to Smaldino year in 2000. The example of the traditional assessment are the test, quizzes, or written assessment. Those are the paper and pencil test or quizzes are the best example of traditional assessment, which mainly describe the measure of student learning outcomes. According to Law and Ekis in year 1995, state that traditional assessment are single occasion tests which measures what learners can do at a particular time. When we say authentic assessment, focuses on the analytical and creative thinking skills students to work cooperatively, and that reflects student learning, student achievement, and student attitudes of the relevant activities. And when we can say that assessment is authentic, authentic assessment focuses on the students using and applying knowledge and skills in real-life settings. Assessment are authentic if they are realistic, require judgment and innovation, and assess a student's ability to effectively use their knowledge or skills to complete a task. The examples of authentic assessment in the classroom: essay, journals, group discussion, debates, interviews, demonstration, experiment, performance tasks, and portfolios. And this should reflect what teacher want their students to do with their learning and demonstrate the use in real-life situation. And according to Wiggins in year 1989, the teacher should test those capacities and habits we think are essential and test them in context. Make them replicate within reason the challenges at the heart of each discipline. And we have here the commonly reported dimension of authenticity are grouped into 3 broad categories according to Frey in year 2012. The first one is the context of the assessment. The context of assessment must be realistic activity or context. The task is perform-based and the task is cognitively complex. And the second one is the role of the student. The role of the student, a defense of the answer or product is required. The assessment is formative. And last, the students collaborate with each other or with the teacher. For the third one, the third broad categories is the scoring. The scoring criteria are known or the student develop. Multiple indicators or portfolios are used for scoring. performance expectation is mastery. And there are also four basic characteristics of authentic assessment. The first one, the task should be representative or of performance in the field. Second, attention should be paid to the teaching and learning criteria for assessment. The third is self-assessment should play a great role. And the last, when possible, students should present their work publicly and defend it. And also, we have the best uses of authentic assessment according to Mueller in year 2000. The first one, authentic assessments are direct measures. Second, authentic assessment are capture constructive nature of learning. The third one, authentic assessment integrate teaching, learning, and assessment. And the last, authentic assessment provide multiple paths to demonstration. Okay. Authentic assessment are direct measures. The main purpose of authentic assessment is to be able to use the acquired knowledge and skills in the real world. This could be done also by the teacher by asking the students to use what they have learned in some meaningful way, in meaningful way. Like for example, calculating savings. The second one, authentic assessment captures constructive nature of learning. In a constructivist point of view, learners should create knowledge and meaning based from schemata. Assessments cannot just ask students to repeat information they have received. Students must also be asked to demonstrate that they have accurately constructed meaning about what they have been taught. Students must be given the opportunity to engage in the construction of meaning. Authentic tests not only serve as assessment, but also as a vehicles for such learning. The third, authentic assessment integrate teaching, learning, and assessment. In the authentic assessment model, the same authentic task used to measure the student's ability to apply the knowledge or skills is used as a vehicle for students' learning. Problem solving and decision making skills are the best exemplified by this purpose. Students are learning the process of developing a solution to a problem by simply applying the meaningful concepts. And last, authentic assessment provide a multiple path to demonstration. Students may have a different ways by which they could demonstrate what they have learned. Authentic tasks tend to give the students more freedom on how they will demonstrate what they have learned. By carefully identifying the criteria of good performance on the authentic task ahead of time, the teacher can still make comparable judgments. Performance might be expressed quiet, different from the students to students. And that are the best uses of authentic assessment. And we have the attributes of traditional and performance assessment. The attribute, which is the assessment activity. In traditional assessment, it is a selecting a response, while in a performance assessment, it is a performing a task. For nature activity, in a traditional assessment, it is a contrived activity, wherein in a performance assessment, it is activity emulates real life. Cognitive level, in traditional assessment, it is the knowledge or comprehension. While in a performance assessment, it is the application, analysis, or synthesis. Development of solution. In traditional assessment, it is teacher constructed, wherein in a performance assessment, it is a student constructed. Objectivity of scoring. In traditional assessment, it is easily achieved, wherein a performance assessment, it is difficult to achieve. And last, which is the evidence of mastery. In traditional assessment, it is indirect evidence, wherein in a performance assessment, it is the direct evidence. And those are the differentiation of the traditional and authentic assessment. And for the rest of the discussion of the types of assessment, it will be discussed with my group mates, and um and that would be all for this video, and thank you for listening. Thank you.